Let's talk sewing machine tension. No matter which sewing machine you have, or if you hear your friends talking about machines, they often say, oh, the tension, it's so hard to get adjusted. Now, here's a few things. Before I actually show you what and how to adjust your tension, keep in mind that this is the last thing that I need to usually adjust. I need to usually make sure my needle is new. It's all the way at the highest position. I've cleaned the machine lately in the last couple months, especially if I've been doing a lot of sewing. I've put in good quality thread. If you use not so great quality, yeah, things aren't gonna look great. And then I also have a thread that's not too thick for the size of needle that I've actually have in the machine. So that can actually throw things off too. So once you've made sure that all the things are done correctly, including threading the machine, putting the bobbin in correctly, I mean, there's a lot of variables with the sewing machine. The tension usually is not an issue. When I adjust tension, once I have everything correctly done, is when I usually have a different thread in my needle than I do in my bobbin. Maybe one's thicker and one's thinner, one's decorative and one's just kind of neutral, is when I start to see stitches that might pull to the back more than I want, or they pull to the front, and I can adjust for that. The only thing we're adjusting is the top tension. So we really don't ever adjust the bobbin tension, but do keep in mind things do loosen up in here, and that's when you have your machine service, they tighten the bobbin tension. So you and I usually don't do that, but if we need to adjust tension, we're always adjusting from the top. Top thread being either loosened, smaller number, or tightened, tighter number. So I'm going to even just set it for a zigzag. We're going to make it really wide, and we'll just kind of do a little testing here. So as we stitch, I'm going to just stitch a really wide zigzag, and I do have two different weights of thread in the machine. So as I take a look, what I'm looking for as a good stitch, usually the front is going to be just fine. When we flip it over, now I was just doing a little tension testing for a different video because I didn't have my thread in the tension, so it wouldn't have mattered if I had turned it or not. I didn't even have it threaded right, so this dial didn't make any difference, and I got crazy loops. So this is where people start to kind of like change the tension. Well, if you don't have it threaded right, you're not actually changing anything. The thread's not where the tension can do anything to it. Now what I do notice is, see how I almost have these little kind of pulled in colors? I have a lot of the top thread coming down to the underneath side. So if I don't want to have that much, and that is a little excessive, but again, I have different weights of thread in my machine right now. And this is so I can actually show you, because usually when I have regular thread in both the needle and the bobbin, I can't show you this because it's balanced. All right, so here's what we can do. If we were to make this thread tighter, it would pull back, making it kind of pull back more to the top side. So if it's at 4, which is kind of where it should be, is if we go ahead and just move it a little bit. Like so many people are scared to touch this, so they just turn it a little tiny bit. Guess what? This is exactly what you're going to get the next time you sew. So I'm going to encourage you to turn it a whole number. If it's at 4, turn it to 5. And actually, I'm going to turn it just even a little bit further. And we'll do a quick little test run. Same stitch. I like to use a zigzag because I can actually see a little bit more. Usually on a straight stitch, I can't see as much. So any stitch that kind of goes back and forth is a great stitch to kind of test out on. Zigzag's the easiest. Okay, so still looks good on the front. But now, oh, still need to go a little further, but I can see that it's actually making a change. So I'm going to go all the way up, a little past 6. See if I can get those threads kind of pull up a little bit more. So when I look on both sides of the fabric, I'm actually seeing a balanced stitch in both sides of the fabric here. Okay, how's that one? There, that's better. So what you're looking for, if you start to have little tiny parts of the top thread, more like a little dot showing, that is more appropriate than when it was pulled in way halfway in as we go. Could we go a little bit higher? We sure could. Again, this is a definitely different thickness of thread than what I have in my bobbin. So what if I had my bobbin thread coming up and I don't want it to show on the top side? Well, by making this top tension looser, that would make everybody relax, and that would be the opposite direction. Now here's what I always tell my students. If you don't remember which way to turn it, well, one's making it better, and the other direction would make it worse. So if it's getting worse, then we definitely know that we want to keep going or go the other direction. Okay, so I can see I'm actually getting changes and seeing a nice change in my stitching there. Where did I stitch? Oh, I stitched down the middle because that's the one that's looking really good. So if you have any directions, now if you got big hairy loops on the back of your fabric, you know what I'm talking about, those big like nests. That is not a tension problem. That is an operator. I did not thread my machine correctly, and I need you to re-thread the top of the machine and make sure it actually is in the tension discs. Make sure that your presser foot is up when you're doing it, and then sew. And then you'll actually have, well, no loops on the back. So if you need fine tuning, that's what the tension is for. Don't forget, put it back to normal. So when you do put regular thread in both the needle and bobbin, it's all set and ready to go.